Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 355 of our Be a Better You annual challenge. Only 10 days left of this year's challenge. Today we are looking at one of the life framework areas, and we're going to do a roundup on it. And today's selection is spiritual health and well-being. So we're going to consider, out of all the life framework areas, the impact of, and we're going to do a roundup. And by a roundup, I mean we're going to ask ourselves 4 questions about this past year. We're going to ask ourselves, and we're going to write them down. What are some of, or I'm not going to say all of, because chances are you can't recall all of them, but what are some of the spiritual wins that you've had this year? What are some of the times that you have behaved in a way that feels good to you, that aligns with who you really are in different areas and aspects of your life, but specifically with respect to your spirituality, your spiritual growth, spiritual well-being, your spiritual health, and how you have defined those and what you define those as for you. What's spiritual healthy for me might not be spiritually healthy to somebody else, and it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how we define things and how we measure them. So the first thing we're looking for is as many wins as we can possibly think of, and we're going to write those down in our handy dandy little journal. I've got a journal that I keep for my annual challenge every year. And this is just a little notebook journal where I thought, okay, I want to do an end of the year roundup and then just have a little carry size book with me that I can have for each of the different areas as I map out my 2026, your new year to your next year, wherever you might be listening to this. One of the things I do every year at the beginning of the year and toward the end of the year is I rate each of these different 9 life framework areas: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, contribution, confidence, and communication, on a scale of 1 to 10. Why? Because it's simple. And some things we just want to add an objective measure to, because they're really subjective and hard to measure, right? We can find little ways to measure them, but overall, big picture standpoint, how do we measure this thing? And so I use scale of 1 to 10. 10 being awesome, 1 being holy buckets, I better pay attention to this area, or it could rear its ugly head and be a big challenge for me this year. So I rated at the beginning of the year spirituality 5. Average, okay, so I can be an average spiritual person. And then at the end of the year, meaning about a week or so ago, I did this again. I rated myself a 6. Now, I'm not even going to get into rater bias and stuff because it's so easy, but this is just us communicating with ourselves and trying to understand ourselves better. So if it's exact, it's not going to ever be exact and precise, and we have to just be okay with that. I also prioritize all of these different 9 areas and aspects of our life. Why? Because I used to not do that. For about 2 decades, I didn't do it, and it worked out really, really bad for me personally, from a health standpoint, from a relationship standpoint, from a everything standpoint. And so I reintroduced this process of rating and prioritizing in about 2010. Actually, it was 2010 into 2011. And for personal reasons I don't need to get into here, but beginning of the year, I rated my spirituality priority 7. I didn't rate it, I prioritized it as a 7. And I moved that to a 9 about a week ago. Why? Because I went up in this area. I feel like I've got systems and processes and habits and behaviors in place that maintain this for me at a level that's acceptable. And you might say, well, is a 5 or a 6 acceptable? Doesn't matter what you think. It matters what I think with respect to my life, right? And this is true for you in every area and aspect of your life. You are just doing a self-evaluation. It doesn't matter. Don't hear other people's voices in your head telling you things differently. Think about how it makes you feel and what is right for you. So what are we looking at this year? We want to capture as many spiritual wins as we possibly can and write those down. We want to be grateful for them so that we create more of them in our life. Second thing is we want to capture the 3 biggest lessons we learned or things we learned about ourselves with respect to spirituality. I keep this at 3 because I personally find that there are a lot of things in my past that nobody else is holding me accountable for, and I need to just forgive myself for. So we got gratitude and we've got forgiveness as 2 primary drivers of how we're analyzing this past year. Third thing, what is, and I want you to assess, what is your biggest spiritual challenge, the biggest spiritual thing or hang up or hook up that you've got that you want to take care of early into next year so that it doesn't impact you in a negative way in the new year. And then finally, what are the top 3 spiritual related items or things or goals that you want to begin the new year with. So we've got wins, lessons learned, biggest challenge, and 3 things to take into the new year. I say take the things that you learned that are good and positive and the systems and habits and consistency, whatever it might be, and bring those into the new year, because they will help you in all the areas and aspects of our life. Because if we improve one area, it positively impacts all the other areas of our life. So that is our action item for today. This 9 days is, it starts to get a little repetitive in the process, but that's intentional so that we actually adopt the process, make it our own, and use it going forward. We don't have to wait till the last weeks of the year to say, all right, what happened this year that was good that I want to take into next year? What is my biggest challenge I want to make sure I fix next year? And, no excuses, but a lot of people, and I'm not one of them, but a lot of people get nothing done between now and the end of the year, except recharging their batteries, spending time with family, which can go both ways, and things like that. So I don't have huge expectations of other people like I do of myself. Now, I did pull a card. I just shuffled up the Getting into the Vortex deck and pulled a card today, which is quite appropriate for me, I might add. It says, everything is always working out for me. I love this because I have a belief that everything is rigged in my favor. Everything works out perfectly for me because the universe is rigged in my favor. It's one of my favorite affirmations. And speaking of affirmations, Louise Hay, we got a couple of power thoughts from her today. One is, my heart forgives and releases. Inner peace is my goal. How spot on is that for looking at lessons learned today in the area of spirituality? And the other one is, I am willing to let go of old beliefs that no longer serve me. Again, I'm in a challenge right now that is kind of the topic of what we're working on right now, letting go of money blocks and old beliefs and things that most of them never even belonged to us anyway. We just adopted them from other people. All right. If I can help you in any way with this exercise with the Roundup, if you have any questions about the Roundup and how you should do it, guess what? Do it in a way that feels right for you. But if you want to ask me how I do it, I'd be glad to share that. Go out, make it an amazing day, and I'll, of course, see you tomorrow.